Hi, this is Joseph, the host and creator of Sci-Fi Graveyard, as hosted by the Heart of Geek. Is there a topic that you love to talk about? Would you love to share that topic with millions of listeners around the globe? If so, then you're almost there to starting your own podcast. The only thing you need is Anchor.fm. With Anchor.fm, you can record, edit, and publish your own podcast to the Anchor site and to popular podcasting sites around the world. So what are you waiting for? If you'd like to get started, all you need to do is head to the Play Store on Android or the App Store if you have an iPhone. Start the download and get recording today. Thank you for listening to Sci-Fi Graveyard, and on to the podcast.
When you peer upon yourself in the looking glass, what do you see? Do you see yourself as you are, a mirrored reflection, or do you see something darker, something more sinister? Or do you see what you could have been if your life had unfolded differently? Look in the mirror and see yourself. Join us as a generation's final journey begins. Star Trek Nemesis. Today on Sci-Fi Graveyard, we have a new person joining us today, Aaron. He is the brother of Jeremy and Josh, who are also with us. I'm Joseph Gettinger, and today we're going to be discussing the 2002 sci-fi film Star Trek Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis was released in December of 2002 and is actually the 10th feature film in the Star Trek franchise and is the fourth film in the Next Generation film series. Star Trek Nemesis takes place roughly in the year 2379. Because of callbacks during the wedding scene, they say it has been 15 years since they met, which was in the pilot episode Encounter at Farpoint of Star Trek The Next Generation, which takes place in the year 2364. Star Trek Nemesis was directed by Stuart Baird and starred Patrick Stewart, Brent Spiner, Jonathan Frakes, Michael Dorn, LeVar Burton, Marina Sirtis, Gates McFadden, Kate Mulgrew, and Dina Meyer as Commander Dinatra, Ron Perlman as the Viceroy, and this was supposed to be the breakout role for Tom Hardy, but he does star as Shinzon of Remans, the evil clone of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This movie was written by Oscar winner John Logan. He won his Oscar for the movie Gladiator, starring Russell Crowe. The story was also by John Logan, Brent Spiner, and Rick Berman. John Logan is a self-proclaimed Star Trek fan and was super excited to write a Star Trek movie. Jonathan Frakes, unfortunately, was not asked to direct this film, but according to IMDb, had he been asked, he would have accepted. Jonathan Frakes actually directed the last two installments in the TNG film franchise, Star Trek First Contact and Star Trek Insurrection. This movie also features a cameo by X-Men director Bryan Singer. This is before we found out that he was a Predator.
And
Star Trek
no.
Star Trek Nemesis, according to fans, kind of breaks the even-odd curse, where even-numbered Trek films are considered really good and perform well, and the other ones, the odd ones, are bad and underperform. This started with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan being leaps and bounds better than Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Star Trek 3 for The Search for Spock not living up to Star Trek 2, then Star Trek 4 being amazing, 5 being a financial flop, and 6 being amazing. Star Trek Nemesis was actually considered a box office failure, unfortunately. It stalled the film part of the Star franchise, which would have seen the crew of the Enterprise E join with the crews of Star Trek Voyager and the crew of Deep Space Nine had the film franchise been allowed to continue. They were actually the next follow-up to Nemesis was going to be a joint movie with the three next-gen crews coming together, which we would only hope that they would bring back the Cisco. People have said that this film doesn't bother to explain why Worf is back on the Enterprise. However, according to the script that I found online, it was stated that the life of a diplomat was not for Worf, and so he returned to Starfleet and thus the Enterprise.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah, as we saw at the end of Deep Space Nine, Worf left Starfleet at the request of the now Chancellor Martok to be the Federation ambassador to Kronos. However, in later novels not considered canon, Worf actually becomes the new first officer of the USS Enterprise after the death of Data, spoiler alert. Worf is also there, which I don't understand why people couldn't grasp this. Worf is there for the wedding, because the movie opens with a wedding of Counselor Troy and Commander Riker, who is going to be a captain of the USS Titan. And another thing that was written in the movie that was removed was Dr. Crusher was leaving Starfleet, or leaving the Enterprise, I should say, to go back to Starfleet Medical. That was never mentioned in the movie, but that was also something that was supposed to happen. Hence the tagline, "A Generation's Final Journey Begins."
Yeah, I think that the main thing for me when I was watching this thing was knowing that it was like that, knowing that it felt like it was supposed to be the ending of the Next Generation crew, or at least off of like movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like we had mentioned before I started the podcast, Wesley Crusher was supposed to have a larger part as returning to Starfleet, as he is seen in a Starfleet dress uniform at the wedding of Commander Riker and Counselor Deanna Troi. However, his scenes were cut, unfortunately. Worf's line about Romulan ale being illegal was because in an early draft of the script, he is extremely hungover from the bachelor party the night before, and unfortunately, those lines were also excised from the script. So Worf just seems to be a jerk. Also in the script, according that I found, Geordi was in fact dating Leah Brahms, who appeared in 2 episodes of The Next Generation, once as a hologram version of herself in season's 3 episode Booby Trap, and she actually showed up as herself in season 4's episode Galaxy's Child. In both episodes, Dr. Leah Brahms was played by Susan Gibney. Apparently in the season 4 episode, she's listed as being married, so if things were supposed to happen with her and Geordi, she would have to have gotten a divorce and dated him within those years. As we mentioned, Data does pass away in this movie. This movie came out in 2002. So if you didn't know that.
Data or a Spinner?
Data is played by Brent Spiner. So Data.
I know, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Data's.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Data does die in this movie, so spoiler alert, the movie came out long enough ago that everyone should have seen it by now, or at least know. But during the memorial for Lieutenant Commander Data, Riker recalls first meeting Data on the holodeck, leaning against a tree, attempting to whistle a song. But Riker couldn't remember the song. The song in question was actually Pop Goes the Weasel, and Riker actually helps him do the tune. And this scene, actually, the scene that Riker describes actually did happen on screen. It was Riker's introduction to Data in the pilot episode Encounter at Farpoint. So, some outside Star Trek trivia connected with this movie, according to the IMDb and other sources. The failure of this movie caused the second film in the Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil Apocalypse, to change its name from Resident Evil Nemesis. Since the main monster that Alex fights in that movie was called Nemesis, but they had to change the name because of the failure of this movie. This isn't the first time movies have changed because of something similar, but that's why.
Well, yeah, they don't want it associated with it because it has some.
Yeah, they're associated with it because of the failure of Star Trek. A lot of people wonder why Nemesis failed. They say it was just a bad movie, and we'll get into it when we talk about our feelings. A lot of people also say franchise fatigue. But we'll continue on. There's actually some inconsistencies with the Enterprise in this movie and with the Enterprise in general since First Contact. To give some reference, the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D, was a Galaxy-class vessel and spanned 42 decks from top to bottom. The USS Enterprise, NCC 1701E, is a Sovereign-class vessel that entered service after the destruction of the Enterprise D in Star Trek Generations. Picard states in Star Trek First Contact, when talking to Lily, that the Enterprise is 24 decks and almost 700 meters, while it also in the film it stated that the Borg controlled decks 26 through 11, while in Nemesis the Remans beam aboard on deck 29, and Riker defeats the Viceroy, and as the Viceroy falls to his death, it implies that there could be more decks. However, I remember reading an article back when this movie was, or when First Contact was in production that stated the ship was actually designed to be 24 decks, and that it was smaller and leaner than the Enterprise D. It was kind of also, according to StarTrek.com, the Sovereign class Enterprise. Sorry, heard a weird beep on the phone. Just making sure no one.
That was probably my sound bar. Sorry, my bad.
Oh no, you're good. According to StarTrek.com, the Sovereign class Enterprise E is 24 decks. So this error actually seems to be at the hand of the writers and not those in charge of Star Trek when it was made. A lot of YouTubers are like, maybe this, maybe that. Actually, I actually go into detail here. I was kind of paraphrasing. I mentioned the issue about the decks, as many YouTubers believe that the Enterprise had its size expanded. But honestly, I find that odd due to the fact that the Enterprise E was less than a year old in Star Trek First Contact and was only maybe 5 to 6 years old come Nemesis. To have such a major refit, though, especially after the ending of the war with the Dominion, it doesn't make sense. They would be rebuilding the fleet, not bringing the Enterprise in to add like another 7 or 8 decks to it. Those YouTubers say they only accept what is mentioned in the movies or shows, and that's kind of how Star Trek continuity goes. However, but when an official magazine release says it's 24 decks, and the official website for Star Trek says it's 24 decks, I think it's safe to assume that the ship is 24 decks. And that's a pet peeve of mine, so that's why I wanted to throw that there at the end. But that's actually all the trivia for Star Trek Nemesis that I cared to share. There's, of course, lots and lots that we could have delved into.
I watched a video where it was like detailing like a bunch of stuff, like how the director didn't really care to watch any of the Next Generation episodes and all sorts of stuff.
From what I read, he actually got the job because he wanted to direct something. They said, hey, if you direct this Trek film, we'll let you direct that. And so he's like, okay. And Stuart Baird had like no understanding of any of the characters. And I solely put the reason that Nemesis didn't perform well, honestly, I put it on his feet. I think a lot of the stuff that I read that was supposed to be in the movie and the PDF file that I found that's supposed to be the script before it got edited and everything, actually a lot of that character stuff that I was reading about actually should have been in the movie. With the exception that Picard's speech in the movie I thought was better than the original script layout. I honestly felt that a lot of the character stuff should have been left in because this was supposed to be like a changing. And as we know, the movie deals with duality, which is why we had the mirror quote at the beginning. Because Shinzon's a reflection of Picard. The android B4 is a reflection of Data, which I don't know why they just wouldn't steal lore and bring lore there. But they had to create a new android. Which actually is one of my.
They just wanted to find a reason not to focus on doing anything. But I think it's also, I think the reason why the movie didn't do that great was because I'm just looking it up right now. At the time of release, it was released on December 9th, of course. Then Harry Potter, The Chamber of Secrets came out like 2 or 3 weeks prior. Then Die Another Day, the James Bond film, came out like a week or so before it, and Lord of the Rings 2 Towers came out. So I think
that would have destroyed it.
That's what I'm saying. All those movies combined, that's the reason why I didn't do well. They just put it in the wrong ass. If they would have probably spent 6 months later, it would have probably done a little bit better.
They probably could have done a lot.
I would agree that the release date was bad. I mean,
they December 9th, but I saw this opening weekend, and I saw it the 12th.
I don't know. I think there was a lot more to it than that.
No, it's just like, to me, it's my least favorite Star Trek film. Like, and that's something. But, like, not saying that it's a bad film either. It's
No,
just
I don't think
if there's
film.
one to watch, it's like I would much rather watch what's it called? I think it's Generations, the one where it has both Picard and Kirk in it.
That's Generation.
Yeah, and then I like
If I'm-
First Contact, even Insurrection, but then it's like Wrath of Khan and stuff like that. Like I would much rather watch those instead of like this one.
I actually don't hate this. Actually, I don't hate any of the Star Trek films. The only one that I never go back to is Star Trek: The Motion Picture because it's so boring. I am a tied with Star Trek 2 and First Contact as my favorite films. I actually also really love Star Trek 6, which is the inspiration for doing a podcast about a Star Trek movie. I believe it was Steven who recommended Nemesis. And I actually think that was a good idea because many people consider this as killing the franchise, which I really can't lay on its feet either. My biggest complaint is all the stuff that got cut from the movie should have been in the movie. And it seems like every time Star Trek wants to go back to the Wrath of Conwell, it never works out for them. I feel like they were kind of trying to do this with this movie, not as blatant as Star Trek Into Darkness was, but I feel like they were trying to make this the next gen's Wrath of Khan. Star Trek First Contact was straight up action. Star Trek Generation was a passing of batons. Insurrection was just kind of the middle child in that group feeling. Insurrection, which I also I like all the Star Trek films, really, except for the motion picture. 5 rates really low, but it's kind of like a guilty pleasure. It's kind of like ice cream on a bad day, or it's like I still like it. I'm not going to hate on Star Trek 5. I think my favorite part of Star Trek 5 is the fact that the Enterprise is keeps breaking down throughout the entire movie. But other than that, Nemesis, I think it was franchise fatigue. I think I think they were running out of ideas. I think that all the character stuff that should have been in the movie got cut. And the release date, I think all those factors played into this. Because when Enterprise went off the air in 2005, Star Trek had been steadily on TV since 1987. So 1987 to 2005 was almost 20 years of Trek. And I think people were getting tired of it. The Next Generation was...
Well, I don't know about that. I think you were right with saying that Baird had a role to play in why it did poorly, because it's like this to me. I felt more TV than I did movie in this adaptation, from TV to film.
That's fair.
It was like all the character development seemed like TV drama than it did actual movie. Like it didn't have any depth or brevity to it and stuff like that. I thought the story was great. I'll see you at home. I thought the story was great, but it just fell short. Tom Hardy in it, his acting was, I thought it was great.
I thought so too.
And what was it? Ron Perlman. Like immediately, I knew it was Ron Perlman before I even heard his voice. Like that dude has a face that is so recognizable, even through prosthetics. You see that. That's like
I can't see
very distinguishable.
I can't see Ron Perlman and not think of the TV show Beauty and the Beast, because my mom was obsessed with that show in the 80s. So that was like my introduction to Ron Perlman. A lot of people know him better as Hellboy, which honestly, let's face it, he's Hellboy.
He'll always
be Hellboy. Perlman is like one of those character actors. He's amazing. And he probably deserves better than what he's done, but he's also done
I always
cool
remember
stuff.
not only from Hellboy, but I always remember him from Blade.
That's what I was thinking
That's right.
too. And Blade too.
He was in Blade too.
And he gets sliced in half. I always remember. That's
like one of the main movies that I ever remember him from, other than Hellboy.
But in terms of him himself, because most, like you guys were saying, most of the stuff he's done, he's been in prosthetics. Blade 2 was one of the movies that it was him. Not much outside of that.
It was actually outside the teeth, the vampire makeup, but it was him. Well, I think in Blade, the vampires, it's just their teeth that are different. But other than that, yeah, you actually get to see what the man looks like. And it looks like we lost Aaron, so hopefully he comes back. But for anyone listening, Aaron's at the gym. He's a bodybuilder. And so the grunts and stuff are him doing his cardio workout while
Yep.
we
He couldn't
discuss.
stop
And
Yeah,
he's
he's
back.
man.
back now.
Yeah,
Can't stop
sorry,
Worf.
I went from Wi-Fi
You're
to
good.
4G and it just dropped me.
No, I was explaining that why we might hear the grunting.
He
That
probably just
I'm
finished his
actually
cardio.
all done. I had to leave. My headphones went down, so you might hear a little wind right now. But
no,
yeah.
And you might hear the car start up.
Yeah, from my
probably.
perspective, that's where I was when, and I don't know if I'd ever seen this movie until this morning, because I didn't remember it at all. Like when I watched it today, so it did not bring back any memories of seeing it prior to. But I wanted to point out that actually one of my, you guys were talking about your favorite Star Trek movies. Well, at least you did, Joe. My favorite that I can recall is Star Trek Beyond, which was the latest one. I loved that movie.
I actually really like Star Trek Beyond. I mean, you can say what you want about Justin Lin because I wasn't excited about Justin
What the heck is going on with Joe's?
Yeah, I don't know. Something's going on with the audio.
Can you hear me
Again,
okay?
now
Yeah.
it was breaking up crazy.
Yeah, it was being very garbled.
Sorry. I wasn't excited at first for Justin Lin directing because he was the Fast and the Furious guy. But I actually thought he did a really great job. And honestly, I think Justin Lin, even though Beyond was more of an action film, I actually think he understood Star Trek more than Stuart Baird.
Dude,
also,
Beyond, it felt like more of a Star Trek TV show or like a version of a movie that felt more like Star Trek than the first two films. That I think didn't J.J. Abrams only do the first one, and he did do the second one.
He directed the first two.
Oh, okay, so he did do the second one, yeah.
Yeah, and then he did Star Wars because he wanted to do a lot of stuff that they wouldn't let him do. That Paramount said no, and there's a lot of stuff involved with like what's going on with like the Star Trek license. There's a lot of people that have been like speculating and stuff like that. And so there's different things because he wanted to like actually make in the first movie, Star Trek 2009, he actually wanted to make the ship that encounters Arrow, the Enterprise, and then destroy it, and then the movie would take place with the Enterprise A. And Paramount's like, no, you can't do that. And there's like a lot of stuff, to be honest with you.
But I would have to also agree with what Aaron said in terms of how this one felt. I liked the movie today, but I can see what Aaron's saying in that it felt more like we were watching an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
It's like Baird didn't know that much about Star Trek, so he watched a shit ton of episodes of The Next Generation and was like, oh, well, I want to keep to this type of feeling, and it just fell short. Like a movie, especially now, the way things are going, this was back in 2002, but like that's why I like the newer versions so much. Is well, they got a whole new cast, but the actual emotions that are involved with all these things that are happening. You're in fucking space, like you could die at any moment. It just seems more intense. Like that's how it would be in a situation like that.
Yeah, and the only other thing I saw too was, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the humor that was in this movie was weird. I don't know if there seemed to be an off-putting humor to me, like especially with
like
Picard. Yeah, it was corn. Yeah, like and I don't know if it's because Picard's fairly old, but he was kind of acting like this young captain in parts, and it kind of threw me off, especially like when they went to the planet at first, and he was talking about trying out the dune buggy for the first time, and I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird. You could understand that, like with the humor with a robot, right? But not with the humor with everybody else. There seemed to be just off elements. But I would agree with Aaron in that it seemed really TV-ish.
Which I still enjoyed.
Oh, that's why I said I
it was
liked
an
I liked
entertaining
the movie, and I liked the story too. But just I don't know if it was the way that it was filmed. Seemed like you were watching an extended episode of Next Generation, really.
Yeah, I didn't really like this movie.
Joe's
You're breaking
audio
up again,
messed
Joe.
up again.
It didn't really have that like.
I don't know why Joe's having such an audio issue.
No, he never has in all of our.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I know for me, I just thought it was kind of funny re-seeing Tom Hardy again. I think I recently watched it a couple
How
of years
young
ago.
he was? I mean, that's the thing I think.
Yeah, like
I mean, it was 18 years ago. Shit.
Yeah, that's what I was
No,
saying.
19.
Like,
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was,
I think I watched it like a couple of years ago, and then what's it called? I was like, "Shit, Tom Hardy was in this," and I totally forgot.
Yeah, this was like his, I think, first like major Hollywood role.
And then like, so like when I was watching it, I was like, because it seems like that's how it is every once in a while. Like you watch a movie and then you come back to it, and then you're like, oh shit, this person was in it the whole time.
Remember that this was in it. Holy crap.
I think that's one of the best parts of it for me too, was his character and stuff like that. And then like I saw like a video where they were talking about that they were thinking about actually making Picard be both characters or something.
No, that would have been bad.
Yeah, then like I think they changed their mind in the meantime. Like I'm like, other than watching the movie, I found like a video where they were just talking about the trivia of the movie. Most of it was already stuff that Joe mentioned, but that was one of the other things that they were talking about. Like that, it was possible that they were thinking about that, but it would have probably thrown off everybody in the movie. So it's good knowing that they picked Tom Hardy.
Funny though, when you look at the director, the Baird's his resume, he's mainly edited movies, but he's edited a shit ton of good ones. I mean, like,
yeah, which is I think is weird that he kind of dropped the ball with
The Omen. He edited Superman. I'm just throwing some of the ones out there. He edited Lady Hawk, Lethal Weapon, Gorillas in the Mist, Tango and Cash, Lethal Weapon 2, Die Hard 2, Last Boy Scout, Demolition Man. He also edited Executive Decision, which he also directed. He edited this movie and directed it. I mean, it's when you look at all the stuff he's done, it's like, geez. I mean, he's only directed 3 movies: Executive Decision, U.S. Marshals, and this one. But in terms of editing, he's edited a lot of movies. Like, so.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
That he does his own edits.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that he's like an amazing editor, but like he doesn't understand Star Trek.
Well,
he probably should have like
related to Star Trek.
Well,
if you look at
the thing is you said it yourself. Like the studio said, oh, if you do this, you'll be able to do this film, right? Yeah. So I mean, his heart wasn't in it like somebody that's a Star Trek fan, like Simon Pegg, for instance. He wrote.
Yeah, Simon Pegg, he wrote Beyond.
So, I mean, he's a Trekkie. So I mean, that's why Beyond was so good to me. It was because a fan wrote it, and he understood the world. Like this guy just didn't. He just was good at editing and could direct.
Yeah, and you look at his history, and that's kind of why I was pointing it out. None of it is sci-fi. It's all except for maybe Demolition Man. But
yeah, but that's
editing a movie is a lot different than directing it too.
I would say that's more action adventure than it is.
Well,
sci-fi.
that's what I'm getting at.
The only sci-fi part about it was like the cryogenesis.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at. That's the closest one. Like if you look at everything else, there's nothing really close to it out of anything that he's done.
I did want to mention. Has anyone ever watched like an interview with Patrick Stewart? like him on a talk show or anything like that?
I mean, maybe
Not
anything.
not in a
It seems to
long
come
not
off
in a
like
long
an ass.
time.
No. He seems like a legit like good dude, and you can tell he's artistic and everything like
Yeah,
that. But it's funny
yeah.
because watching this
Keep talking,
movie,
guys.
I could tell that he was acting like Jean-Luc Picard less and more as himself in this movie. Like all the parts, that was the wedding at the very beginning, and the part on the planet when he was riding the dune buggy and stuff like that. That seemed more like his lighthearted, like joking.
Yeah, and that might be why I took it the way that I did. Maybe that's, and remember I was talking about it earlier where it seemed kind of corny-ish, kind of. Maybe it's because that's how he is versus.
I really.
And I was
think
picking up on that.
Yeah. And it was weird because the difference between him acting like when he in the scenes with Tom Hardy, you can tell he was feeding off of Tom Hardy's like acting, because when he first saw him, how like deep his emotions got because he knew it was himself. Like I knew before he even said anything, he knew that was him. Like that's how well he acted that part. And it was just like so contrast to him in the other sections of the movie. And I just found it kind of interesting because I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't seen interviews of him on, what's his name? The English guy that has a bunch of
Graham Norton.
Like Graham Norton or something?
Yeah, Graham Norton. He would be on Graham Norton with the guy that played Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
Ian McKellen.
They knew each other from theater and stuff like that. Anyway,
was that why they were put together in that? Was it Geico commercials? Right? Aren't they in the?
No, that was
that's
Mark
right.
Hamill.
Yeah. Why was I thinking Ian McKellen was in something with Patrick Stewart though, in terms of a commercial or something?
Because they're like BFFs in real life, so it's not they're super BFFs in real life, so that we're seen together a lot. Patrick Stewart actually is a survivor of abuse, so Patrick Stewart does really seem like a really down the earth guy. To be honest with you,
I think that's one reason why the movie Green Room that he did, where he played as like a bad guy, did so well too. Still, that at certain times you like sense a person and think that they're actually a good person, and when they play like a super bad person, then it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, so it was like I thought there was some like good in this movie. Everyone who was in it did a good job. You know, they did their best their abilities. I think the problem with this movie again is the stuff that I mentioned before. I just release dates.
I think the release date is a big
one.
Like the fact that it came out with Lord of the Rings and all that other stuff. It still made 60.
Yeah, that.
So it's considered a flop. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it made
more than
it
freaking
made
cost.
more.
How much did it make?
It's 67.
Yeah, 67 million.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So
what was the
just
budget though?
60 million. That's
60.
Oh, okay. So
it technically lost money because of like advertising.
Yeah, but they figured that into the budget. Though.
Yeah, they make 67 million in time when all that other shit was out. I don't consider that bad. I mean, to me,
especially Lord of the Rings. So many people are rewatching Lord of the Rings several times. The same with the Harry Potter and shit. So
that was the first Harry Potter, wasn't it?
The second one.
Oh, and that was even bigger than the first.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's like,
that's what I was saying. It just so happened to be around that time. Sure, like that's why I say it would have probably done a lot better if they would have gave it like 6 months or some shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, not to say, but I mean, it still made 67 even during that time frame. So I mean, I wouldn't consider that I mean, of course, in the grand scheme of things, the studio and everybody else considers it a flop. But shoot, we just watched a movie on our Scream Creeps that made 131,000. Is considered one of the best horror films of all time. So it's like, what?
And it was
Yeah.
It was so bad.
So I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, okay, what the hell are these people talking about? I mean, there's no way it only cost $131,000 either. So it didn't make shit, but yeah, it's considered. Anyways.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. It's I can't talk anymore. I thought it was Star Trek Nemesis, I think, had its flaws. I don't think it's as bad as everyone wants to bash it. I feel like the only reason they bash it is because it's like the popular thing to do.
I could see
everybody
that.
ends up bashing some movies.
Well, if you think about it in relation to the Wrath of Khan, okay, it's like, of course you're gonna bash it compared to that and beyond, because once you make something that successful and that good, it's like it's only downhill. So it's like you're gonna smash it even if it was just slightly less good, or you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we've talked about that with Star Wars. I mean, it's like when you you almost have to nitpick to downplay something.
Yeah.
The thing is it making $67 million is because it has such a broad and devoted fan base. What, you think they're not going to come back and see the next one? Like, come on, it's a friggin' Star Trek. It's like saying somebody, even all the shitty Star Wars movies to come out, they won't go see Star Wars if they came out with a new one. Yeah, they did. So,
yeah, definitely. But I mean, that's why I say, and also with this movie, it's like there's not so much that I could like say that is great about the movie either. It's like the whole car scene. I was like, they could have just scrapped that. To me, I don't know why they added it, but I mean, like
the car scene. Well, they kind of needed that to get
data or B4.
No, I get that. I'm just saying.
When I felt they were replacing Data, even though Data died, because he was singing the song.
Why wouldn't they have just taken the cruiser? Like, why wouldn't they just take the ship and just land it wherever a piece was?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like we talk about plot holes and shit like that. It's like they end up having some shit in here that is just like, man, they could have thought a little bit better. But I mean, that's just me nitpicking though, and like. There's not like anything super memorable to me. It's like, I think the last scene when Picard's on the ship with him, where they're talking about stuff, I think that's one of the main scenes that I remember out of the movie before we even rewatched it. That and the car scene. Not really because the car scene was memorable. It's just that I just remember, oh yeah, this is the one movie where they kind of tried to do like an action thing. So they're like, here, you guys get into a car. That's what it seemed like to me. Hey, action, here you go. Like,
well, it could have also been, the writers, Paramount, we got to make it an action film.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I'm not faulting it for that. I'm just saying that those are the two main things that I remember out of it. Like, I didn't even remember the wedding until I started watching it. I was like, oh shit, I forgot that they got married in this one.
Yeah, and then it's just there's things where it could have been better. There's things, there's definitely things that could have made it better. There's stuff that it could have, was worse. I think like I said, I kind of lay a lot to on the feet of the director.
Yeah.
Because I really think since he didn't understand he didn't understand Star Trek.
But
he didn't know what he should keep.
I get it. I just don't feel the movie was bad.
I think that was,
again, you can only stretch things so far, right? When you've got, I was looking at the stats, Lord of the Rings made $951 million, and number 2 was Harry Potter.
951 million.
And Harry Potter was number 2 and made $880 million. So
and that's
you
what I
can
was
only
saying.
spread it so far.
Stuck around then,
Oh my god!
And then look up Die Another Day. They made money off of that movie too, and they all came out around the same time. It's like, of course, one's going to fall to the wayside.
Obviously, that's not an excuse for this movie not doing well, because I mean,
No,
950 million
it's like a combination of shit, right? Like it's like him not really. They didn't put it in people's hands that really understood Star Trek. It seemed like they were just like, "Here's another movie."
Oh, I get
like
it,
a cash
Aaron,
grab type of thing. So they just
like
gave
I was
it to
saying,
somebody.
you know, you got
right.
Even now today, you're seeing it a lot of, right? You got like the major opening weekends, and so you got 3 movies that were out all at the same time, and they grossed almost $2 billion between the 3 of them. Because Die Another Day made $431 million.
See, that's what I figured. So, so of course one of them was gonna like if anything, it was like
when you're watching movies, right? And this one,
which one is Die Another Day?
Pierce Brosnan one with Halle Berry.
Halle Berry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was a terrible.
Yeah, and it made $431 million. So,
wow.
So, you know, between 3 movies, you've got $2 billion and almost. I mean, and
they couldn't share the love with Star Trek, man. What the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I was saying. I was like, that had to have been like the main thing, because they would have probably had, like, if it would have been like 3 months later, they would have probably been like, oh, well, there's not Lord of the Rings and shit to go after, because I don't think there was any other movies around that time that made that much money. Like, and they all came out around the same time. That's what I was like, dude. Even if they were like, even if it was like Wrath of Khan, right? Do you think it would have made about the same? Like, it would have probably made more money, right? But like coming up against those movies, do you think that it would have made as much money as it did when it first came out? When
honestly,
it wasn't around those movies?
How much money did Wrath of Khan make?
Let me look it up and see if it says on the IMDb. But then again, remember Star Trek 2 came out in the early 80s. So
no, I'm just saying, like, as a thing, like, it probably made more money than their budget, right? But that didn't mean that they were making $951 million.
Well, no, I don't think it did extremely well as far monetarily. It was just that movie was so freaking good, and everyone remembered it.
Well, that's
it was made on
it made
low budget.
$97 million.
97 million. Yeah. See,
according to the IMDb, Star Trek 2 made 78 million.
Worldwide. I'm looking it up on a Wikipedia. So
that's the one everyone remembers.
And it cost 11 million to make.
That's what I'm saying. It's a totally different thing with Nemesis. They didn't make it because they made like only 7 million extra, right? Like that's the reason why Motion Picture or Wrath of Khan did well, was because it was only made on 11 million and made 97. So there's a whole $80 million that they made off of it. So do you think it would have probably done as well in that time, like around with Lord of the Rings and shit? Probably not.
No, I think it depends. The thing that really helped Star Trek 2 was
probably VHS
people who
sales.
And I think one of the big things that really helped Star Trek 2 was honestly Star Trek 2. I think it was the storyline, because they brought in Nicholas Meyer and they developed the story. They kind of made Starfleet more military. And even though Gene Roddenberry hated all that, it proved successful, and they decided to show the characters' age, so the characters were growing and changing, and I think that's kind of like where they kind of failed with some of the next gen films. They kind of didn't let the characters grow anymore after they did for 7 years. Because if you look at Picard from season 1 and you look at Picard from season 7, they're almost completely different characters because Picard grew. But during the movies, he kind of got stagnant, and they decided to make Star Trek like an action film, and they forgot that the best part about Star Trek is its
Well, I
characters
think that's the main
and the
thing. Did
storytelling.
they even? I don't think they ever specified in the movies like how much time passed between each movie, like how the Star Wars did or whatever.
It's usually roughly 2 years. The thing with
8 Mile came out that year too, in November. Yeah, that's why I said there was a lot of shit when I'm looking at it. It's like it was the number one R-rated film that came. It made $51 million in its first weekend, and it made $242 million in the box office. It came out in the middle of November, right around when Harry Potter did, and then Die Another Day. Those were like 3 weeks in a row, and before that, Santa Claus 2. There's all types of shit that was. I mean,
there was. Well, I think Star Trek movies. They usually were really. I think Star Trek Generations came out in like November in '94. They could have probably picked a lot better time for it to come out than what they did. I think there's a lot of things you could say which caused. I think honestly, there's a lot of things why Nemesis failed, and it makes me sad because I think it's not a bad film. I think it could have used a better director. I think if anything, they should have gotten Jonathan Frakes to direct it.
Like
he at least understood.
Like, why didn't they? I don't.
I think it's because Star Trek Insurrection also underperformed. And so they're like,
okay, yeah,
and they're like, oh, well, this.
But it still made
that
money,
goes back to even fatigue.
Yeah,
I think there was a big piece of that too, like you were saying.
And I think fatigue played a little bit into it, but I think they honestly probably should have had Jonathan Frakes direct, because Jonathan Frakes at least would have kept a lot of the character stuff in, especially since his character was moving on to the Titan. Counselor Troy was leaving. Dr. Crusher was supposed to be leaving. Worf was coming back. Data dies. And there was like, it's one of those movies where like you see the potential, what could have been for this story, and they kind of dropped the ball with it.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like they just kind of dropped the ball.
But anyway, still people should watch the movie anyway. I would say
I think everyone
watch
should
all the other ones first, though. But
I think with the next, I think every Star Trek movie you should probably give it a go, except maybe Star Trek the
Well, you say that it's one of the top.
But if you want to punish, yeah, but it Star Trek the Motion Picture from like '79, it made money. But it also cost a lot to make. They went like way over budget. And so the budget to profit ratio was very poor, even though it made decent money. But the problem with Star Trek, the motion picture, it's too cerebral. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because like I said, the most important thing about Star Trek is its characters and how they interact with each other. But this one, it was kind of like they just kind of hung around the house, waiting to get the V'ger and yada, yada, yada. And I think that's why Star Trek 2 did so well, because it was a very, very well done character piece. And for having where the two main characters, Kirk and Khan, never interact together except via a view screen, that it was kind of like a retelling of the movie Das Boot. And I think that's where Nemesis kind of failed. I think if they had kept the character stuff in there, let the movie be over 2 hours. A real Truckie's not going to complain if the movie is a little over 2 hours, but keep the character stuff in it. Like all the character stuff got thrown to the wayside for flying the Scorpion shuttlecraft
When
through
did,
the
when did Next
scimitar.
Generation end?
And
Okay, so the
1994.
Movies, okay, so
it
the
ended the same
movies
year Generations came out.
continued it. So do we not think that
Mhm.
maybe the fact that
Yeah,
it was 4
yeah.
years in
Generation-
between movies might have been part of the problem?
Well, it was
Yeah.
94. Then Generations came out in 94. 96 was Star Trek First Contact.
Insurrection,
98
and then 4 years later,
was
Nemesis came out.
4 years later, yeah, Nemesis. I don't think the gap was the thing. I think what took so long is because Insurrection didn't really
It's
do
just
that well.
funny though when you look
But even though it
historically
did well, but
for
even
Star Trek,
Insurrection,
it's except for Star Trek, between Trek and Into the Darkness, there was like 2 years in between movies, 2 or 3 years in between each.
yeah, because it was like 82, 84, 86. Then 5 was 89, 91, then 94, 96, 98,
Then
02.
you got 7 years where they rebooted the whole thing, which
yeah, then they rebooted, which I didn't hate the new Star Trek films. I didn't think they were like the best either.
I wholeheartedly agree. I thought it needed a revamping just to give it.
Well, I don't disagree.
Because the darkness
I don't disagree.
that goes along with it, like a lot of the lighthearted stuff, like I said, is TV adaptation. Like it's so many censors and everything that you have to go through. It's not rated R with the new versions, but it does have emotional depth in the films, at least to me, and the way that cinematographically, or is it cinematography, like it just looks dark. It has another different feel since all this digital recreation is happening and CGI and everything else. It's just, I think these movies were made for this time. Once the technology caught up, now they're getting to be better.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though. I mean, I love a classic story. Like, Wrath of Khan is by far my favorite of all of them. Like, bar none, that is my favorite. And I was born in '86, so it was like I remember seeing Wrath of Khan with all you guys. Well, excluding Joe, like the family, and Dad would watch it, and like I just remember the scene with Kirk, and he's like, Khan! I just remember that shit, and then the friggin' bug going in the Russian's ear, like it was just cool. It was just a fucking cool movie. Anyway, this podcast isn't about Wrath of Khan, but
no, but we usually always go off topic, which I'm actually okay with because I think if a film can help you discuss other films, I'm all for talking about movies. But and honestly, we've all just been talking about Star Trek films, which this is the 10th movie in the Star Trek franchise. So I think it's okay to talk about other Trek films and talk and compare them, what we felt about them versus what we feel about this one. Like, I don't hate any Star Trek movie. I'm ragging on the motion picture, but I still don't hate it. It has its purpose. The thing with Star Trek, the motion picture, it's actually the reason why like Gene Roddenberry didn't have much input in the other films. And I think if Star Trek had gone the way of the motion picture, because movies do need, you have a shorter time to tell a story. With that being said, because a TV show, yeah, your show's an hour, your show's 30 minutes, but you have multiple episodes to build a story. Whereas
or build
the movie only has
themselves.
Yeah, and so they had to introduce like the Viceroy. They had to introduce Shinzon, make him important. The only thing that kind of bothered me about Shinzon, and it's just a nitpick, and I can live with it, is they show Shinzon bald, and then they show a picture of Picard in his Academy days bald. But if you watch the episode Tapestry from Star Trek: The Next Generation, when Picard was in the Academy, he actually had hair.
So that was just a continuity issue.
It was a continuity issue. That's why I say it's a nitpick, because like he had hair, And then when he was taking Beverly in one episode to show her dead husband's body, he was balding, but he still had hair. And so like that was kind of like a continuity error. And I mean, that could be stuff like that can be forgiven. I can even overlook them saying the Enterprise is bigger than it was supposed to be. But I really feel like this movie lacked, because this movie wasn't a terrible film. I actually was, when I was rewatching it, I actually realized that I liked this film probably a lot more than I thought I did before I went into it. I just feel that all the character stuff that was important aspect of the film, I think should have remained in the film, and I think it was to the film's detriment. I think they should have had Jonathan Frakes or someone familiar with the Trek franchise maybe helm the movie. Like, if not Jonathan Frakes, then maybe get Nicholas Meyer, who directed several Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 6, which out of the original series crew, Star Trek 2, 4, and 6 were like the really good Star Trek movies.
I agree.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And so even Harv Bennett, as a producer of the Star Trek movies, the original series movies, he actually kind of understood everything too, up until a point. And so I feel like that's what it was lacking. Maybe they should have been more selective of who they got to direct it, unless it was a studio mandate where Paramount says you have to make this guy direct, and that very well could have been. That would make a lot of sense. That it was studio interference. That and usually when a studio interferes with a movie, it's usually to the detriment of the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, it might have been a monetary issue. Like they said, this is who you have to go with. They had to pay him less because he said he would do this other film. Like, he wanted this film, so he took less money to do this one than the director that would have done it. So a lot of political shit having to deal with it.
And that's very possible. So there's a lot of things that could have played into it, let's be honest. And it's just, my biggest thing with this movie is that it was like wasted potential. Like, it wasn't like a terrible movie. Like, when I didn't see Olive, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see Olive Die Another Day, but what I saw of Die Another Day, I'm like, this is one of the worst Bond films I've ever seen. And I only saw like part, like a chunk of it.
That one was worse. Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, that one was bad. Is that the one with the boat or the ski-doo scenes?
I think that's the one with the boat.
Yeah. Get that shit
with
out
Dr.
of here.
Christmas.
The Pierce Brosnan ones weren't very good.
Dr. Christmas Jones.
I didn't like any
my favorite
really,
you know,
really good one.
Which one? Yeah,
the GoldenEye one. It's the only good one.
Tomorrow Never Dies was pretty good. I thought Tomorrow Never Dies was really good.
I thought that was the only one that I just couldn't watch. Like, Die Another Day, I actually kind of liked, mostly because Halle Berry's
that might be the only. That might be the only one.
Yeah, but she didn't get next.
That's the only good thing.
Because that'll tell you.
Halle Berry didn't show her boobs.
She didn't show her boobs, but like she was in a bikini.
No, that was Swordfish.
No,
that's how she got her big break.
That was in a bikini at one point.
Project Swordfish, because you don't go legit until you show your tits. Did any of y'all watch Scream?
No, she didn't get an Oscar until she got
Monster Ball.
Edward or not.
She showed her breast on Swordfish, though. That's what
Joe
was on. It was Swordfish.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, she was in a bikini with her boobs on like everywhere. So that's why I was like, that's the best part of it.
Still in a bikini, though. Swordfish was better.
Well, yeah.
She is a beautiful woman, that's for sure.
It shocked me when I found out she was diabetic, though. She's type 1.
That's not surprising,
not type 2 either. But, anyway. Let's see what's...
Nice. So,
the world is not enough is the one that I have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, World is not enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that I was thinking of. My bad.
That's the one with Dr. Christmas Jones.
that's the only one.
Yeah,
only
I
came
don't know
once
why
a
I was
year.
thinking it was Tomorrow Never Dies, but I forgot that there was 4 movies that Pierce Brosnan did. I think it was 4. And then it went off to Daniel Craig, which I'm assuming that this upcoming one is going to be his last.
But like I said, I thought Nemesis was. I mean, his final thoughts about Nemesis. I thought it was. I thought it was good. It was wasted potential. I think if you like, I think anyone who watches it should give it another chance. I really don't think that it was as bad as everyone thought it was. Although I do feel like it deserved more than what it got, and I think they just put the wrong people in charge with it.
Yeah, that's why I say it should rest in peace. I don't think they need to retell this movie. They just leave it the way that it is.
Yeah,
I don't think
they ever
because it's
will
already
retell it.
rebooted to the new one.
No.
Well, I figured we had to answer the question.
Well, I wasn't gonna do like a rest in peace, let it die, or
I was
rise from the
just
grave.
assuming.
Just because I don't see where like how it would fit with this movie. Because let's face it, they're not going to make us. They're not going to make a. They're not going to go back and remake
anything
Nemesis.
probably related to Picard or anybody else again. I mean, they've moved on to Chris Pine and all them guys now. So,
well, they moved back to Kirk, but.
So my problem with the new movie, my only problem with the new movies, and especially with like Star Trek Discovery, is, which I like Discovery. I'm not going to take a dump on it. The biggest problem for me with those movies or with that show is that they went back in time to tell a story when I really think that they needed to move into the future. And then my biggest thing about Picard was I feel like, and I was going to talk about this earlier, and then this is my final thoughts. Everyone give their final thoughts, and we'll end it because we're at the hour point. My final thoughts is I really don't get Picard not getting over Data's death for like 20 plus years, because like he's still broken man over Data dying. Picard was a captain who had lost people before. He lost Jack Crusher, who was his best friend, and the husband of Beverly Crusher. And so I really don't think that he would have been this lost about it, but they had to build the show about something. And I feel like it's weird that Picard and Nemesis both kind of forgot about lore being around. They just talked about P4. Another thing is, another nitpick with Picard is Data's daughter when he had Lau in season 3, and they completely forgotten about her. But I really feel like Picard wouldn't have been moping for 20 years. Like 20, 28 years, or however long it's been since. Yeah, it was like 20 years between Star Trek Nemesis and Picard's premiere. It was like almost 20 years. And so I just don't see him being this like fragile old man over it. And I really think that's a detriment to his character. And again, I think Nemesis was wasted potential. I think it was. I could go on day with my final thoughts, but anyway, I'm gonna just stop talking and let you, because it's like I love Trek, and so I'm the Trekkie here, so I have a lot of opinions about it. So everyone, give your final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up.
Watch it. That's pretty much my final thought.
It's still worth a watch, even though it's not the greatest in the franchise. I mean, it's just like anything else. If you want to get to know the characters and the storyline, like it's one of the sequence. Like I think it has to be watched in order to get the entire.
Yeah, and embedded in my final thoughts, I wanted to mention. I don't remember Generations or First Contact either. So when I watched Nemesis today, one of the things I was thrown off was that Troy and what's his face were getting married at the beginning. So I don't know if there was some follow-up in the other 2 movies that explains that.
Not in First Contact. It actually doesn't come into play until Insurrection, but they always had kind of not a love-hate relationship, but they were always close in the series because they were lovers in the past.
Okay, I remember Dad
And
watching this
so-
show, but I don't remember that part. And then, like I said, I don't remember those movies. So I just wanted to know if that was where we were coming from, because all of a sudden they were getting married in the beginning of this. Like, where the hell did that come from? And,
Yeah, there was.
but other than that,
What happened was
I don't.
the
So basically, what you're saying is it really didn't. It just happened at the beginning of this one, and they kind of alluded to the previous one.
yeah they hinted at them getting back involved in Insurrection. It was kind of alluded to because of they were one of the things that the planet did in Insurrection was make you younger. The radiation actually reversed the aging process, which is one of the plot points of that movie. And we could actually do an episode on that movie too, because that one's kind of I think an underrated film. And that's another one where Aaron was like, this feels like an episode. Insurrection also feels like an episode. So
like an extended episode.
That's where,
like an
my
extended
final thoughts were
episode.
coming from.
So,
is that
honestly,
maybe, I would say watch this one, but maybe watch one like this to get help and understand.
Yeah, just want the Generations
until
this movie first.
Yeah, because Generations also feels like an episode. The funny thing about the funny thing about Generations is they were talking to Ronald Moore and Rick Berman, I think, and they both said that the season finale of Star Trek: The Next Generation, All Good Things, was actually a better story than Generations. They're like, we did a better movie for the series finale than we did for Generations. It was like, but Aaron, final thoughts?
Pretty much what I said. Worth watching for sure. Was it the best of the franchise? No, but it was still a good movie. I mean, there were parts in it that were like, meh, but I'm not going to take that away from the movie as a whole. Like,
no,
I've always
watched
Star
worse
Trek.
movies
I'm
this
not
week.
Gonna hate it. I grew up watching it with my dad. So, oh yeah, that's for sure. And I think I'm being a little more lenient with movies ever since watching that book. And
at least the next one will be cut out.
Lord.
Yeah, don't watch Audition.
Don't watch Audition.
But Get Out is the next one, so that should redeem it. I hope. But
I've already seen it. I already like that. So.
Well,
Josh, what's your final thought?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, what do we think we're talking about next? Do we know?
All right. Well, for Sci-Fi Graveyard, I was gonna think about the V series, do the final battle, but actually, let's do Star Trek Insurrection for the next one.
Beef, my dryer going
just because let's talk about the one. Oh, you're fine. I don't get. I'm not gonna get bent out of shape out of like.
Yeah, I just wanted to point it out for those that are
lives
listening
outside of podcasts and stuff.
My dryer just went off twice, so you probably heard that in the background.
No, yeah. He's got clean clothes. So next we're gonna do Star Trek Insurrection probably in the next 2 weeks. I'm trying to get on a 2-week schedule, guys. I'm hoping to do the release date on Mondays, where we're gonna record these actually beforehand and release on Monday, to see what we can do as far as like helping get the podcast out to the listeners so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So look in 2 weeks for Star Trek Insurrection. That will probably be the only 2 Star Trek movies we do for a while. And then we'll probably do V, the final battle, just to finish that up. But anyway, for Sci-Fi, I can't talk. It's time to take a nap. For Sci-Fi Graveyard, I'm Joseph. And for Jeremy, Josh, and Aaron, we want to thank you all for listening. Also, almost forgot, there was a blog that we were mentioned on, and let me bring that up real quick. We were mentioned on a blog as the top 35 podcasts to listen to, in 2021. So I'll be honest with you. I don't know how large this blog is. However, I do think it's cool that this person listened to our podcast, listened to a bunch of nerds rant
according to what
about
I
movies.
Read.
But
a group of people that picked,
and I'm
that's
So
a group of people
that
let's see here,
ranked the top 35 sci-fi movie related podcasts, and ours was number 11.
Okay, because 11 out of 35. So we want to thank the blog. He said to mention it. The website was located on from the link that he sent. He actually sent it to Jeremy at the Heart of Geeks main email. The blog.feedspot.com, sci-fi TV shows and movies podcast, top 35 for 2021. We were number 11. So we want to thank them for giving us a free shout out and for liking what we do. I do this for fun. This is a hobby. I could go all day about movies. I'm glad I have people to talk to about them, and I'm glad we have as many listeners as we do. Hopefully bring those numbers up because we want to get more and more people involved with what we do. But if you like what you see here, subscribe to the Heart of Geek. The rest of our stuff will be in the epilogue part that I always tag on at the end of this episode. But we do want to wish you all a wonderful night. Please be safe. Please stay safe. We know there's a lot of troubled times going on with COVID and depression. If you need help, please seek out that help. Remember, there is people out there that care about you. You're not crazy. You're not alone, and secrets make you sick. So don't be afraid to reach out to the people in your lives for help. Again, wonderful night. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, guys.
Hi, this is Joseph Ganger, thanking you for listening to the latest episode of the Sci-Fi Graveyard podcast. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and Twitter at The Heart of Geek. We are also on Twitch as Heart of Geek. Again, we want to thank you for listening to this week's episode, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget to leave a comment or make a request. Again, thank you for listening, and have a great day.